I'm extremely late. I'm usually late for P Valley, and I just finished editing the final review for Greenleaf until they put something else out. Um, so that'll be up. But y'all, I'm gonna be real honest. P Valley it's a good show. It is, and it has great potential. And I get it. It's usually when it comes to like the first season of any new show, it's always going to be slow, right? And it's going to take a while, especially if it's sorry y'all. If it's something that's not too, bada bing bada boom, um but like I said, with any show, when it's new and it's the first season, it's all about getting to know everybody, and you're trying to figure out backstories and all this other stuff. So it's going to be real slow. I mean, Game of Thrones was like that, and it's just all about keeping the attention of the audience. And sometimes it's hard, but not to mention I work, so it's like really it's one of those shows I get to it when I get to it, really. So today's Sunday. P Valley didn't come on in a couple of, actually the episode's already out, because when I went to go watch it on my Fire Stick, I was like, wait a minute, wait a second, wait, I know I'm not 2 episodes behind, but I have to remember that Stars releases the episode on their app, like as soon as like midnight it hits on Sunday, for those who want to go ahead and watch it early, versus watching it with everybody else. So without further ado, this is my review. Y'all see my one earring, child? This ear over here, because I got 2 piercings on each side. This one is, I think it might have closed up, I don't know, but we're gonna get a needle in, can I pay $40 for these? Oh hell no. So yeah, y'all, this is my review for P Valley. So as always, we'll get the least the greatest stuff out of the way. So first off, let's talk about Uncle Cliff. So if y'all remember last week, okay, which I absolutely love, Lil Murder and Uncle Cliff, I love them. I absolutely do. Like I love their relationship. But first of all, Uncle Cliff then gave Murder the business. He murdered, okay? He gave him the business, right? And so we see Uncle Cliff looking in the mirror, and he's looking at himself. You can see that he's having some insecurities in himself. One, he's older. Two, his body is not your typical muscular or in shape body. And then of course he didn't have his hair on. So y'all get into this natural lighting. Now you'll see in my Greenleaf video, because I like to use natural lighting, because like, bro, look at that, clear, right? And it's like in my video it just kept getting darker and darker and darker, and I'm like, ooh, let me turn the light on. But anyway, but yeah, you can obviously see there's some insecurities, and then not to mention the reality of the situation. Like, this isn't your typical hetero relationship. This can't even be a relationship, or not even that. Like, you're in the South, and you're in the South, okay? The South, okay? You are in the South, and Chuckalissa is like, that is country, the most countryest name I've ever heard. Like, I've lived in Mississippi. Well, I don't live there now, but I used to live in Mississippi for what, over 15 years, and I have never heard of Chuckalissa, but I believe it's there because they got some weird ass names, weird ass towns in there, and that sounds like heavy, heavy, heavy. And as you can see, it is heavy on the country, racism, all that other stuff. So, one, the fact that Uncle Cliff is able to, gender bend the way he does, or the way she does. I can't remember what pronoun she likes to, I think it's she. Anyway, Uncle Cliff, gender bends, right? And he's able to, walk around how he, dresses and all that, and, be around, you know, these macho men, and it's not an issue to an extent, right? Um, but for, to have an openly gay relationship like that, like, absolutely not. That is not going to fly at all. That is not gonna fly. And they even later on in the episode when Lil Murder, like, Uncle Cliff got murdered, his nose wide open, like this man wants to go running in the fields hand in hand sniffing daisies. I'm like, bro, the fields you gonna be running in is the cotton fields, and you gonna be running from these people trying to kill you because of and I'm like, Dad, no, that ain't gonna happen. Like, they even told y'all, look at these curls. I wash my hair and then I put a little oil up in there. Look at that. My curls are popping today. Okay, go back in there. Sorry, I know that's rude, but I don't be talking to y'all all nasally and stuff, even though I kind of do anyway. But anyway, so but yeah, absolutely. Like, they even said, there was one where these two lesbians were walking around, and they got raped and killed, and then these two gay men, they got thrown in a river. Like, no, that's not gonna fly. But later on in the episode, well, early on in the episode, we got a scene with um, everybody's like outside. Well, you know what? We'll hold off on that. Because, I don't want to, like, I want to get everybody's stuff out the way, but I want to keep some things, like, all together in one little sitting. So, what else? So, we get these, with, what's her name? What's her name? Keisha? I know it's not Keisha. Keosha? Or what? Mississippi. Okay, her. So, if y'all remember last week, she showed herself, her true potential, and, people were like, oh my gosh, she is the shit. Like, you know, and they posted her video on Instagram, right? And it, basically she's blowing up, she's going viral, right? So now, she's, excited off of that. Then later on in the episode, we get a scene where, there's another video, and I don't, it's amazing how whenever they show the girls on the stage and they're, performing, how they'll like cut the music and you just hear them and doing all this breathe. Like, this is athletics. Like, oh my gosh, this is athletics going on here. And the breathing and the strength and all of the other stuff. And for them to be doing all this is like, wow. You just have, I mean, I've always had, like, the utmost respect for strippers. Like these women are doing all kinds of stuff. However, it's also paranoid because the way the camera has them, as if, they're gonna fall and break their neck. And I'm like, please don't. Please don't. Like, y'all remember that one girl, I think it was last year or this year, whichever one, that girl that was stripping on stage, I think it was King of Diamonds or whatever, but she was on stage performing and fell and broke her neck. Ooh, wee. Ooh, that's why I'm like, no. Like, ooh, wee. Y'all are some acrobats here. But, she didn't fall. So, once again, they posted a video. It blew up again. People are loving Mississippi and all. At one point, she's, all the girls were congratulating her. And then, of course, you had one girl that was hating. But then, one of the girls came in and said, oh, what is it, David, I think? Yeah, David's outside. I think she said Dave. Somebody is outside with the baby. We're like, okay, so she goes outside. Now, the guy that she's with that's been beating on her is a white man. I'm like, what? You got a whole white man? A whole white man. And you can tell because, the way, like, whenever she would, like, whenever he would touch her, she would, flinch. And he was just, Obviously he knows that she's blowing up, obviously. And then he was like, why don't you, because I got the shop up and running, and, why don't you just let me take care of you? She's like, because this is what's paying the bills. I don't, and I, Mississippi's character is a little complex to me, because it's like part of her wants to do this, and then, you also got that other part. I don't know, maybe it's that insecurity that was in her. I don't know. But it's like, there's that part of her that doesn't want to do this, but there's a part of her that likes doing this. Um, we did get a scene earlier in the episode where she was while she was performing last week, there was this girl there, and she was drinking and rapping to Lil Murder's music and just going all out, right? And basically this was her divorce party, right? Which I'm like, I don't believe and stuff like that. Like, no, like, to me, divorce is like a death to me, and I wouldn't celebrate it. Like, I would have been like, just give me a minute, like, just give me a second to get myself together. I wouldn't celebrate, especially if it's like a marriage where you just knew this is going to be my forever. Like, this is just my opinion. Like, I'm not wanting to do that, but hey, to each his own. So, what else? Oh yeah, but she was in a private room with this girl, and also she's like, I'm not going back to that house, all the other stuff. And then if she remembers um what Mercedes said, that you have to give people that fantasy, that connection, right? And so that's when that kicked in. She's like, hey, you gotta get yourself together. And I feel like in that moment she was also talking to, Mississippi was also talking to herself too. But she's like, you gotta, get yourself together. You can't be feeling like this. But homegirl was out. She was out, right? To the point where she like leaned over and went to sleep, and she had all this stacks of money, and Mississippi and Gidget at that point had walked in, and she was like, girl, get the bag. And they took that girl buddy. So yeah, but this girl, we're gonna get to her because she's, it's just, we'll get to her in a minute. So right, so this girl, the whole divorce, what are we gonna call her, because we never knew her name. Divorce girl. I want to call her that. um Child wasted homegirl, we gonna call her that. So we're gonna call her old girl. That's what we're gonna call her. So old girl, we first see her with Mississippi, right? The next morning, okay, we see her. Everybody then left the club, which I'm like, that is absolutely trash. Like, they just literally, like, I don't know if she, came to the club with her friends. I don't know, but they literally left her there. So Clifford walks in, sees her, is like, what the hell? So he, escorts her out. And then everybody's outside, and they're like, what? They see a 14-day notice on the doors of the pink. Yeah, of the pink, right? And so everybody's like, what? And then the guy that's like the manager or whatever, he's like, yeah, I told Clifford about this. And they're like, wait, so you knew about it? Like I said, rumors have been going around about the pink closing, but this is kind of like that. Oh shit, this is real, right? And so, by this, Uncle Cliff walks out. He's escorting this girl out. I'm like, I don't know, like, I don't know if you should be escorting her. Like, this girl's pissy drunk right now. So she, he like, go on now. So he's like, everybody, what are y'all doing? And so then he's like, oh no, don't tell me Mercedes dead. Oh no. And so I'm like, no, she ain't dead. No, she ain't dead. Look. So he look at the door, and he sees the notice. He look at it, and he passes out. And that boot went up, and it went boop. I was like, bro, this is tough. So we see that. Then we switch over to Autumn, right? We switch over to her, She's at the place where she gets all this transferred money from, and they're telling her we can't do no more transfers because the only reason why we did it is to help people get back on their feet after the flood. Well, now we're going to put a stop to that because homegirl, you've been doing this for like what 10 times, And I'm thinking, ooh, because even I would have been like, man, what are you doing? Like, you constantly doing all these transfers and you saying that your family is being extra generous, but it's like, God, 9,000, 10 times, and it's like frequent that you're doing this. Yeah, I would have been a little suspicious too, but, um, and then I think they said that her account was frozen or something like that. I don't know, but they just said they gonna put a stop to her doing all these transfers, right? So, now, but while Autumn was in their office, the lady at the desk was like, "Oh my gosh!" So we look, and we see this car, this Jeep, okay, and it looks like it's about to crash into the building. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" It's the girl that was from the club that was drunk, right? She flying around in that car, and the police are, flying after her. And then that's when we switch over to what's her name? Mercedes. So we go over to them. Homegirl, she's getting, going to jail with Mercedes, all that. So she in jail, she rapping to Little Murder's lyrics, and